This video is going to be a little bit different. I guess I'll start out by saying that I am currently 21 weeks pregnant. I am currently 21 weeks pregnant, so we are very excited about that, me and my husband and my son. But more than that, what I wanted to talk about is some of the things that I have been doing in this pregnancy that have really helped me, especially after having had two prior miscarriages. I apologize if this video is a little bit all over the place. It's kind of emotional for me, and I just want to make sure to give you like enough context so that you understand where I am coming from. I'm going to start at the beginning. Towards the end of 2018, I took a pregnancy test because I had a missed period and it came out positive. So my husband and I were very excited. We had been trying to have another baby for a while and it just wasn't happening. So when I saw that positive pregnancy test, we were over the moon. We were so excited that I remember I told my son pretty much right away. And I told my sister, I told a couple of friends. I didn't tell my parents right away because I was like, I kind of want to get over the first trimester. And like I said, it was towards the end of the year. So it was around November. I thought it's gonna make a great like Christmas surprise. So I'm gonna wait to tell my parents then. And honestly, I didn't think that anything was gonna go wrong because the first time when I got pregnant with my son, it was a very, very easy pregnancy. Like I didn't have any nausea, I didn't have any like aches and pains. It was just easy, no complications. I was just kind of thinking it's gonna be the same. Then I woke up weekend in December. I was probably about 7 weeks by then. And I remember I went to the bathroom and I saw some blood. So at first I kind of panicked, but I calmed myself down and I was, you know what, maybe it's nothing, maybe it's a spotting. I've read about spotting, I'm just going to relax. And I remember I texted my husband, I said, hey, so I went to the bathroom today and there was a little bit of blood. He was like, oh my God, what do you think it is? And I said, you know what, it might be nothing, it might just be spotting. And I even like spent the rest of that day in bed reading up on spotting and thinking, yeah, that's probably what it is. By Sunday, the bleeding had gotten heavier. So by that point I knew, okay, you know what, this is not spotting. But just to be sure, I went to the doctors. They ran several tests. They were able to confirm that I was indeed having a miscarriage at 7 weeks. We were devastated. Telling my son that I had lost the baby was probably one of the hardest things I had ever done. He, felt really bad. He started crying and I felt horrible. And then I had to turn around and tell everybody that I had shared my good news with that I was no longer pregnant. And I remember feeling very alone, very empty, very numb, and I just couldn't understand. I knew, that I hadn't done anything wrong per se, but at the same time, I kept thinking, could I have done something different? So there was still that guilt there, even though I knew I shouldn't have any. Fast forward to summer of 2019, and I found myself pregnant again. And this time it it wasn't an easy pregnancy, not because things were going wrong right away, but because of my last miscarriage, I was kind of overly anxious about it. So anxious that I wasn't enjoying the pregnancy, you know? And I think that's one of the first things that I kind of changed with this pregnancy was my attitude and my way of thinking. And what I mean by that is when I found out I was pregnant again, I remember I told my husband, I said, hey, I'm pregnant again. And, you know, he was excited. He was like, oh my God. And I said, I don't want to tell anybody because of what happened last time. So my previous loss, I said, I don't want to have to go through, having to go back and say, hey, I'm not pregnant anymore if something were to happen. And I said, I also don't want to say anything to our son because I don't want to cause him any pain. Again, same thing, if anything should happen. So my husband was like, okay, well, we'll wait. Hopefully everything is going to be fine. I was anxious all the time. Every time I would go to the bathroom, I would go expecting to see blood. And I would be relieved, you know, when I didn't see anything. I was like, whew, okay, no blood, we're good. I had a lot of pregnancy symptoms the second time around. So I had, you know, really tender breasts and my back really hurt and I was tired a lot. But at the same time, I remember thinking, okay, this is good. This is good because this means that I'm still pregnant. We're still moving along. The other thing that I did was I went on Reddit. And I actually went on Reddit right after my first loss because I felt so alone and like I didn't have anybody to talk to. I went to these forums and chatted with people who had gone through the same thing. And it really did help me. But the second time that I was pregnant, I went on Reddit and I said, hey, I'm pregnant again. And last time I had a miscarriage and now all I can think about is, oh my God, am I gonna miscarry this baby? And that's honestly, that was on my mind all the time. Like, what if I miscarry? What if I miscarry? And I remember coming across a Reddit post that had a link, and this link, you can pretty much check what the risk of miscarriage was based on how far along you were. And it goes through like from day 1 to, the last day. And oh my gosh, you guys, I was checking that link daily. I would go in and be like, oh my gosh, I am 2 weeks pregnant today. The risk is this high. Okay, I am 2 weeks and 3 days. My risk has gone down by this much. And I was just checking and checking and checking and checking and checking. And I remember making my first OB appointment and thinking if I could just make it to this appointment and everything checks out, I'll be able to relax. I'll be fine. And then my appointment got postponed until I was about, I think, 13 weeks. Throughout this whole time, here I was checking this link to see what the risk of miscarriage was. Every time I go to the bathroom, I would be anxious and relieved when I saw no blood. Finally, I made it to my appointment. They gave me a urine test. It came out positive. They did like the normal checkup, and then the doctor said, hey, you know what, we're going to try to listen to the heartbeat. Sometimes it is hard to kind of detect it, but sometimes we're able to hear it. I thought, great, this is good, she kept searching and searching and searching and searching and searching, and she couldn't find anything. So she said, you know what, just to give you peace of mind, because she knew about my previous history, and for hers as well, she's like, just so we can have peace of mind, we're gonna do like an ultrasound, and it's gonna be like a transvaginal or vaginal ultrasound. I'm not sure what it's called. This way we'll be able to know for sure. So they did that, and I knew something was wrong right away, because the ultrasound tech, was really quiet. She was just kind of searching and looking and taking notes, but she wasn't really talking to me. So I thought, oh my gosh, something is wrong. But I thought something is wrong with the baby. When she was done, she said, okay, you can put your clothes on. I'm going to step out. You can put your clothes on. And then the doctor is going to come in and they're going to talk to you. That, for me, right away, I was like, okay, something is definitely wrong. They're having the doctor come in to talk to me. Something is definitely wrong. So the doctor came in, and the doctor said, okay, so basically what's going on is the baby has stopped developing. So the baby stopped developing at 6 weeks. Remember, I was supposed to be 14 weeks, but the ultrasound was measuring 6 weeks. So they're like, unless you are way off on your last period, which we don't think that you are, because I had been, tracking it. They're like, we don't think that you are. This means that you have had a miscarriage. And I was just confused. I was like, wait, a what? A missed what? They're like, a missed miscarriage. There is no heartbeat. The baby is not developing, but for whatever reason, your body hasn't caught up yet. So your body still thinks it's pregnant, but you're not. And I remember just being really confused and, again, really devastated. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And she said, you know what, you have 3 options. One, we can wait to see if your body catches up and realizes that you're no longer pregnant and just naturally expels the baby. Option 2, we could give you some medication to kickstart the process. Or option 3, you can come in for a DNC and it'll be quickly taken care of. I remember struggling so hard with that decision, because even though I knew, okay, I'm no longer pregnant, it felt like options 2 and 3, it just felt like I would be aborting my baby. And listen, I would never have an abortion, but I don't judge people that feel like that's the best choice for them. I think at the end of the day, you need to make a choice. And yes, I do think a baby is a life. For me, the minute there's a little beating heart, it's a life. But I also understand that sometimes there are circumstances beyond our control. So this wasn't, I don't want anybody to feel offended by that. But for me, it just felt like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be aborting my baby, even though the doctor was saying there is no more baby. So I said, you know what? Just write me up the prescriptions. That was on a Tuesday. I didn't pick up my prescriptions until Friday of that week because I remember telling myself, you know what? Maybe the doctor's wrong. I'm going to see about getting a second opinion. And this way I'm going to give my body time to catch up, like she said. Finally, you know, I had to accept the fact that the baby was gone. And I remember feeling like crap all over again and thinking, how could this happen? How can my body betray me like this? You know, you're supposed to keep this little being alive and you didn't. I decided that I was going to take the medication on Friday. You know, I read up on it. I read up on the side effects, and one of the things it said is that there could be severe cramping and a lot of bleeding, obviously. So I knew I didn't want to be going through that on a work day. So I took it Friday around 9 p.m. and I woke up at 1 a.m. with really bad cramps. I went to the bathroom and I was bleeding. My baby was leaving my body. That second loss was the hardest. I remember the doctor called me up and she said, "Hey, have you taken the pills yet?" I said yes. And she said, "Okay, well, we're gonna need you to come in 2 weeks from now, just so that we can make sure that everything has been expelled from your body, because if you still have anything left in there, then we're still gonna need to do the DNC." And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I just remember praying. I remember saying to God, God, please, if you have to take this baby, if, you know, this was your will to take this baby, please just take it all. Make sure it all leaves, because I cannot go through this and then submit myself through an operation. I spent most of Saturday with severe cramping and just bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, and most of Sunday. By Sunday night, it had kind of subsided, and Monday morning, I went back to work, you know, like it was another day. I became kind of depressed, and I did what I do best when I get depressed. I turned to food and I started eating. I just remember thinking, I don't know if I can go through that again. And my husband, after a couple months, he said, hey, do you want to maybe keep trying? And I said, you know what, I don't even know. We've lost 2 babies already. I don't know if I can handle a 3rd loss. So I decided to just leave it to God, you know, and I prayed to God and I said, God, I don't know if you want me to have another baby. If you don't, then that's fine. I have my son. You gave me one and he is wonderful. Yes, I would love another one. But if it's not your will, then I can accept that too. Just please don't let me go through that again. And I decided to just stop trying. And by stop trying, I mean with the second time that I got pregnant, we were actively trying, in the sense that, you know, I was tracking my ovulation and which days I was the most fertile, and just really kind of pinpointing everything. And for this time, I just decided, you know what, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be God's will, and I'm just gonna leave it in God's hand. And on November of 2019, I was pregnant again. I knew right away. I didn't have any symptoms, but I had my missed period, and I'm very, very regular. So as soon as I was like 2 days late, I told my husband, I'm pregnant again. I know it. I'm pregnant again. And some of that anxiety started to creep back in. I remember saying to myself, okay, you talked to God already, and you told God that you were going to trust him and that you were going to leave it in his hands. So I decided that for this pregnancy, and just to kind of control my anxiety, I wouldn't go on any of the forums. I didn't want to read anything about miscarriage. I definitely did not check that link that I had checked daily on my second pregnancy. You know, I stopped focusing on miscarriage because I think that's something that I did a lot in the second pregnancy that I had. And I'm a big believer of law of attraction and thinking things into reality. And I know it's not that simple with miscarriages, you know, because you don't walk around hoping that you will miscarry. But I think that I was so focused on that, like so focused. That was what I worried on. That was what I worried about on a daily basis. And I would read, you know, miscarriage stories and what it felt like. And it just kind of became my whole world in that moment. And then it happened. So this time I kind of told myself, okay, you know what? I am going to keep all of that negativity away from me. I'm not going to read anything about anybody miscarrying. If I came across videos that were hit my miscarriage story, as much as I wanted to sympathize with that person and, you know, say, hey, I know what you're feeling. I know what you're going through. And as much as I wanted to kind of be there, I said, I can't, I need to step away from that. I need to not think about that. So I stopped reading about miscarriages. I stopped watching videos on miscarriages. I didn't go anywhere near that link, and I just focused on positive thoughts and leaving it to God. And I said, God, if you want this little baby to come into our family, then so be it. I told you that if you wanted to, then let it happen again, and that if it was not your will for me to have a baby, then to just please not make it happen. And you know, I've been going to the checkups. I would get anxious before a checkup. I remember that first checkup where the doctor was like, we're gonna check for the heartbeat, and I remember holding my breath just thinking, oh my gosh, am I gonna hear the heartbeat? And when it came on, it was the sweetest sound ever. You know, we did the genetic testing and everything came out normal. She's right on target. It's a little girl, so she is, you know, her weight is where she needs to be, her size is where it needs to be. She is active. I can feel her moving now. I remember when I was when I had the second loss, I remember also thinking about that. You know, yes, my first goal was let me get to that first ultrasound just to make sure everything's okay. And then my focus was like, I just need to get to the point where I can feel the baby move and it'll be okay, because then I know if it's moving, it's fine. But you know, things didn't play out that way. With this baby, I felt her moving a lot earlier. I think I could feel her movements at, I want to say as early as 14 weeks. I started feeling, you know, little flutterings here and there. I definitely feel little kicks now and again. She moves a lot, but I think those are things that definitely helped me out a lot. I just kind of stopped focusing on the negative. I stopped worrying about everything that could go wrong. I just left it to God and decided to just try to enjoy my pregnancy. So at this point, you know, do I still have some fears? Yes, I still have some fears, but I try every day to remind myself, hey, just keep thinking positive thoughts, keep leaving it to God, and just keep it moving. I have to try to remember that everything I feel, the baby feels too. So I just want everybody out there that has gone through this to know that, you know, there is hope. This isn't a fix all, but you can find comfort in whatever you believe in. You know, if you believe in God, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in whatever it is that you believe in, find comfort in that and think positive thoughts. So that was what today's video is about. I kind of just wanted to share that story with you. I am hoping that I can share more of pregnancy stories. Let me know if there's something in particular that you guys would like to hear about, and I, you know, would be more than happy to come in here and talk about it. But other than that, that is all that I wanted to say today. So I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.